It's football season, not only in the state of South Carolina here in the upstate, but hey, we got high school football tonight, FCS football tomorrow, but welcome in. This is CSN live at Lakeside Lodge here in Clemson. Mark Sturgis, your host, and I'm picking up this year with the legendary Joe Bostic, the former offensive lineman, 11 years with the St. Louis Cardinals, and 2 years, 9 with the St. Louis Cardinals, 2 with the Phoenix Cardinals.
Yes, I wish I could have stuck around a little longer, but my legs didn't allow it, and so that was the name of that tune.
Well, we get this really awesome opportunity to bring in football season. Number one, we are going to approach this as we're having football season. There's no other way to look at it. We are now 2 weeks from kickoff, and I think we all want a sense of normalcy in our life. But, Joe, we are blessed. We have been primarily sponsored here by Lakeside Lodge in Clemson that both of our families have got a little bit to do with, but Leighton Cubbage and Taj Boyd and all the crew at Lakeside Lodge, what a fantastic situation they put together here.
Oh, this place is beautiful. The pool out here and, all this and the rooms and hotel and the restaurant, and it's a really beautiful place. I was talking to Leighton Cubbage about the old Holiday Inn back years and years ago, and any of you people that are young fans of Clemson, I'm sure you don't have any idea what I'm talking about. But the old Holiday Inn was a place to meet on Sundays after the games, and this place will do the same thing, but quite a bit nicer place than the old Holiday Inn.
So one of the things that we're going to do tonight is get ready for some football. We'll be here every Friday night before a Clemson football game doing this. It doesn't matter if it's home or away, and we want to treat the away games as big, if not bigger, than the home games going on. We now know, as of earlier today, 19,000 people seated in the stands in a pod situation, 2 to 4 tickets per person. And for Clemson, the Tigers can make a lot more noise with 19,000 fans than most schools can with 50.
Absolutely. I'm just worried about teams like Wake Forest having an advantage being used to playing in front of 19,000 fans. And Death Valley is it'll still be rocking. Those 19,000 will just we'll get some kind of megaphones or something and double up the loudness and do the best we can.
So let me ask you, here we are. Football is a game of out physicaling your opponent, out strategizing your opponent. This year in 2020 with the pandemic and all the craziness that we've gone through, is it the same thing? Just go out there and hit somebody, block and tackle, and carry on your assignments? Because this new norm is going to be different for all of us.
Well, I think the teams like Clemson that have an established culture are going to be at quite an advantage, because not having spring practice is really going to be detrimental to those teams that have new coaches and installing new offenses and defenses and terminology and all the things. You need that spring really to springboard into the next season. So I think Clemson really has quite an advantage there. The culture is established here. This team has got good players, and the coaching staff is consistent. So there's a lot of things to look at Clemson this year and say, hey, we got a lot of plus marks going for us.
And there's really, Alabama and Clemson have separated themselves from the rest of the college football world right now. They're Ohio State, Georgia, some others are in the mix. LSU, we get to see if they were a one-hit wonder last year with the 27-year-old quarterback back there with Joe Burrow. But, my question for you is, you bought into something in 1975 coming out of Greensboro, North Carolina. Your younger brother, Jeff, follows you the next year. What is it that you saw in Clemson in 1975 that still resonates in 2020?
Well, in 1975, the stadium was much smaller, but it was that the fans, it was really hard to explain. I just could not believe how, excited and the passion that these fans had for their football team. And it's the same way now, even more so. And, it's just a beautiful place. You make a few decisions in your life, and your wife and your children and all that, but I hit a home run with those things, and hit a home run with Clemson University. I have never regretted having the opportunity to come to school here and be a Tiger, and for the last 40 years I've been a fan. So it's a wonderful place. It's a wonderful school. It's a wonderful athletic department, and Clemson fans, to be a small school and to raise the kind of money and to do the things that Clemson fans and alumni have done is really incredible.
Yeah, and it's hard to the family, the military heritage, everything that makes this place special. But now, to me, it's as much about what have you done as resumes. And look at a little old wide receivers coach and Dabo Swinney being elevated to an interim head coach. A lot of people around the nation are laughing at Clemson. Really, this is your next move? And has that paid off for Clemson and having a vision in doing that?
Boy, I'll tell you that, having played as long as I did, those first few years that Dabo was here, I didn't really get a full understanding of what he was trying to do. I am thoroughly convinced that this man's got the ability to see 3 or 4 years in the future and can see where he wants little places and things to happen. And I've been thoroughly surprised and thoroughly impressed with what he has done. He has brought a culture here. He's brought a family atmosphere to this university. Those guys seem to be having fun, and he's still a tough coach. He's not their buddy. He's not their friend. If he has to get on their case, he's going to get on their case. He coaches hard. But I'll tell you what, it's a great culture here, family atmosphere, and I think we're the number one program in the country. And there's a difference between the number one team each year and the number one program. Last year, LSU was the number one team in the country, but I don't think they're the number one program in the country. But we are. And I'm sure there's people that will argue with me about that. But as long as we're the number one program in the country, we're going to be vying for the big prizes every year because we're bringing in great athletes. We've got a stable coaching staff. The athletic department is well versed to do the good things and to keep this football team at the top of the charts.
Well, welcome back in. We're live at Lakeside Lodge here in Clemson. You can find out everything about this wonderful facility online at lakesidelodgeclemson.com. It's located right here in Hartwell Village, and it is Clemson's only resort experience. We're so blessed to be out here. We're going to be talking throughout the night with Jim Riggs from Hot Springs Pool and Spa, former Clemson tight end, played in the league. Built an amazing pool here at Lakeside Lodge, as well as a few other things. Taj Boyd, the Taj Boyd Foundation, and of course we got to thank Ingles, one of the primary sponsors of Clemson Sports News, because they got 200 stores in 6 states. So wow. Low prices give you a lot of choices. So thanks to Ingles as well. But when we come back in the next segment, we're going to talk about a little bit of how to adjust to 2020. I met up earlier this morning with Tom Luginbill from ESPN. We'll bring you that interview, and then a quick ACC overview. As did the ACC get played by Notre Dame when all was said and done? Those are things that we'll come back with. But first, we're going to head out and join Cindy over at the pool area with Mama Boyd and talk about everything going on right here, live at Lakeside Lodge in Clemson, South Carolina.
Located in Lakeside Lodge Resort. This is a beautiful place to be at, and if you haven't had a chance to get out to the outdoor patio, it is the perfect place to sit back and relax and enjoy an afternoon cocktail or dessert with your family and friends. You also get to enjoy the beautiful sunset right here on Lake Hartwell. I have been talking to a lot of the diners. They are from all the way from Atlanta, Georgia to Minnesota. Some of them have already bought their football weekend their football weekend tickets, and they've already purchased their lodging right here. So if you have not purchased your lodging for the football weekends, you might need to jump on that. Let me tell you, when you walk into this lodge, you're going to see a familiar face, and that face is, the legendary former quarterback Taj Boyd. Taj will be on in a few minutes, but I have the honor of being with his mother, Carla Boyd. In this area, Carla is named as Mama Boyd. She is also one of the founders of the Boyd Foundation. This is a nonprofit organization that is here to benefit the youth of South Carolina. So Mama Boyd, tell us a little bit about the mission of the Boyd Foundation and some of the events that you have.
Good evening, everyone, and I want to thank y'all for welcoming me here. And yes, I am one of the founders of the Taj Boyd Foundation, and we give back to the youth of the upstate, and we hold coat drives, we do backpack giveaways. We did a big time prom dress drive, which was taken away by COVID, but we will find a way for those girls to get into those 300 to 500 prom dresses we collected. And also during the pandemic, we fed underprivileged citizens at the Phyllis Wheatley Center in the Nicholtown community. So wherever the need is in the community, I will, talk with Taj. We'll assess the situation and we'll help out in the community as much as needed. We're here for the youth of the upstate, for betterment of their lives, and we will continue to give back when possible.
Mama Boyd, we know that this takes some fundraising. So what are some of the events that you hold to help raise the funds for these events?
Well, every year we've had a gala at the Loom in Simpsonville. We've 4 years strong. Our 5th year was taken away by COVID. We had to cancel it. So we have booked a date for November 14th. Mark your calendars. We will be holding our 5th year annual gala here at Lakeside Lodge. So mark your calendars, and we will be updating the community as we need to.
Well, thank you, Mama Boyd. I sure do appreciate it. And guys, I hate to tell you, but I'm going to eat cake and eat your heart out.
So again, thank you, Mama Boyd. Thank you, Cindy. And they are going to be with us all year. And Joe, no offense, they make us all look a lot better here. And but Lakeside Lodge, again, they're what a great place here. We're in the amphitheater. There's a Traditions restaurant. There's a bar at the pool. There's a bar in the restaurant, and a lot of space to hang out. But Joe, we're here for football season because we are football fans. And the AP poll comes out the other day. Clemson is ranked number 1 headed into the season with 38 first-place votes. The irony is the Ohio State Buckeyes, somebody that we have a mutual friend with, ranked number 2 with 21 first-place votes. And if the Big Ten is not going to have football, or at least start at Thanksgiving as it came out today, how can Ohio State be viewed as the second-best team in the country?
Well, I do think they're a heck of a program and a heck of a team. And they would be a very, very formidable foe. We're 4-0 against them, and I hate to share that with all my Ohio State friends, but and they got a heck of a team. But I still do not understand the decision that they made. It made it so early. That was the problem. That was the thing I couldn't understand. But the show's gonna go on. One monkey ain't gonna stop this show. So we're gonna get rolling and have a good year.
So rounding out the top 10 in the first AP poll of the year, Alabama number 3 with 2 first-place votes, Georgia 4, Oklahoma 5, LSU 6, Penn State 7, Florida 8, Oregon 9th, and Notre Dame number 10. And that's a question that I want to ask you. Notre Dame, to me, we get this the statement around the upstate of South Carolina and particularly the Clemson area, be all in. That was the first thing that Dabo Swinney brought in with the poker chips back in the day. I don't like the fact that the ACC placates Notre Dame a little bit, letting them be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Would this not have been the time to maybe force Notre Dame to make a decision we're either all in? Because the ACC did not have to work with them schedule-wise.
Well, I think it's beneficial for us to have a team like Notre Dame. Notre Dame's got tremendous tradition and history and heritage. I think it's a plus mark to have them in the league. Hopefully, they'll get a taste of league play and sometime in the future maybe sign up and be a part of the ACC full time. We were going to play them anyway this year, so I just let the chips fall. They're going to fall. It will at least allow our schedule to look stronger, and so I think it's a positive thing.
So, other things in this year, 2020, last year, Clemson was the victim of let's call it what it was. It was a down year across the Atlantic Coast Conference. However, I thought the league itself was poised for a nice comeback here in 2020. You've got Virginia Tech, I think Justin Fuente. This is now his program in Blacksburg that Bud Foster is out as defensive coordinator. He's retired. 17 starters, a good returning quarterback. You've got Mac Brown bringing back a good sophomore quarterback in Sam Howell. Listen, the Coastal Division is in a lot better shape right now than they were at this time last year.
Absolutely. I think the entire league is getting better. Uh, we had a few years ago when Taj was a quarterback here, and there were a lot of great quarterbacks in the league, and Deshaun Watson and fellow I can't think of his name right now, Deshaun Jackson with Louisville. There were, and it seems like all the teams is a quarterback-driven league. So last year there were a lot of question marks at quarterback. The kid at North Carolina, Howell, had a great year. I was very impressed. Went to the North Carolina game last year. It really was probably the worst game we played all year, even the LSU game. But good teams will find a way to win when they don't play their best ball. So I'm really high on the ACC. I think the ACC is coming back, and I think there's some very good coaches in the ACC. So I think the league's going to get more competitive this year, and I think it's going to continue to grow as over the next few years.
Well, one of the guys that agrees wholeheartedly with you is our good friend Tom Luginbill from ESPN. And earlier today, I had the opportunity to catch up with Tom. He is one of the preeminent college football analysts, a former Georgia Tech quarterback and former Eastern Kentucky Colonel, and, of course, the son of the professional coach, Al Luginbill. This is a little time that we got caught up with Tom Luginbill this morning. Welcome into the inaugural edition of CSN Live at Lakeside Lodge here in Clemson, South Carolina, and I am blessed to be joined by an old friend, ESPN football commentator, former Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket, Eastern Kentucky Colonel, but more important to me, former player for the Texas Terror, Tom Luginbill. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. You dug way back, didn't you? Way back. That's
Tennessee
good.
Valley Vipers head coach. I still think that's one of the best nicknames that I've ever heard in football.
Yeah, we had cool uniforms too, man. We had like pewter and emerald green. We were looking pretty sharp.
Well, speaking of ACC football here in 2020, we have to ask with this pandemic going on, can we expect talent, coaching, the regular things that typically win football games to play out in this 2020 season, which nothing has been normal?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest impact that you're going to see is the early portion of the schedule and how things play out when you consider that there have been limitations and protocols and procedures put in place to maybe not allow for a full training schedule, maybe not allow for your entire team to be in the weight room at one time, your entire team to be on the field at one time, all of the social distancing protocols and all of the things where you're trying to manage a large group of numbers to create a safe environment. So what that does is it's going to limit your time on the field a little bit. It's going to limit your time in the meeting room, in the weight room. I don't think it changes the player's approach or the coach's approach in the sense that they just want to play. They want to get on the field. They want to compete. I commend the universities for doing an unbelievable job of creating this environment to, limit exposure and trust that their kids are going to leave the building and then go out and commingle with the rest of the student body and create a real problem. If I was a head coach right now in the ACC or anywhere else, I would be telling my kids every single day, hey, listen, we are going to play if you do the right thing. It doesn't matter what the student body does, okay? But if you leave here and you decide to go to a frat party or you decide to go hang out in a fraternity house and you expose the rest of us, that's why we won't play. And so I think if the kids are accountable and they're as hungry for it as I think they are, then they're going to do their job to make sure you get on the field. And it might be a little bit sloppy early on. There's going to be procedures on the field in terms of spacing and things of that nature that are going to change the look of it a little bit. I mean, look, from a broadcasting standpoint, we're broadcasting from a studio. We're literally not even going to be on site. So there's going to be significant changes for us too, but it'll end up playing out and being just fine. We just got to keep crossing our fingers, making sure we get to the field.
See, I think this year really hurts not only the ACC, but Clemson, because last year it was Clemson and everyone else. But you look at what Scott Satterfield did at Louisville in his first year, 8 wins and 16 starters returning. Justin Fuente
It's finally truly his program in Blacksburg at Virginia Tech. 17 starters returning, not to mention Florida State, 10 out of 11 on defense. This was a year that I think the ACC was poised to kind of reemerge, but do you do it with only 3 teams, 3 conferences playing college football this fall?
Well, I think as it relates to the ACC and what I think you're getting to is, other teams having the ability to close that gap between where Clemson is and where they are. And I would agree with you, not just Louisville, but the entire Coastal Division is finally something that reveals some strengths.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more answers and there are question marks. And so that makes for more competitive balance. But you know what? Everybody's playing with the same deck of cards. Everybody has the same challenges. It's not as if Clemson doesn't have to deal with these challenges and everybody else does, or vice versa. So it's just part of the environment now. And, I would totally agree with you in regards to Virginia Tech. Justin Fuente had to make a lot of tough decisions in his first few years. I mean, there were times where they had a ton of guys in the transfer portal. And to be honest with you, I don't think the coaching staff cared that they were in there. I think they were like, all right, go. We're going in another direction. This isn't healthy for our football team. And then he makes that change at quarterback after they start 2-2, get blown out by Duke a year ago, and Hendon Hooker makes a huge difference in their football team. So now they have that to build around. You mentioned Florida State. Florida State might be the one program, particularly with the ACC, and I would probably liken this to anybody who made a coaching change this past offseason, is the greatest value when you make that changeover is your winter and spring conditioning and training program, because that's when you get to know who these kids are that you inherited. And the people that are relaying that information are the strength and conditioning coaches and the athletic trainers who are dealing with them on an everyday basis. And they're going back to that coaching staff. And they're going back to Mike Norvell saying, all right, hey, listen, we might need to run these guys in another direction, or, we've got a group here that's a really good, hardworking group. Those guys you can count on. And you start to gather information to figure out who you are and what you're going to be as a football team. Florida State didn't get that. So now you're thinking, okay, well, we'll get back at it in the summer. Well, they didn't get that either. And then finally, when you allow everybody back on campus, it's almost as if Mike Norvell could have taken the job last month, because it's kind of the equivalent to what's taken place. So I think there's real challenges there when there was coaching turnover prior to this happening.
Which team in the league, as we continue with Tom Luginbill, football analyst for ESPN, last year, Matt Brown, I don't want to call lightning in a bottle, but that was a positive change for North Carolina. Which of these programs in the ACC is poised to take that step this year in 2020?
Well, that's a good question. Everybody wants to maybe say that it's Miami because they think they finally have a quarterback, and they may very well. But there's a lot of other question marks, particularly on the defensive side of the football for Miami, that they're going to have to answer. They lost a lot of production off of that defense. But I do like the marriage between Rhett Lashley, the new offensive coordinator, and Derek King's skill set in terms of what that offense is going to look like. I think they're going to be vastly improved on that side of the ball. It's interesting. You mentioned North Carolina, and you also mentioned Louisville. Two teams that you can make an argument went into last year with little to no expectations. I mean, there was when you talked Louisville and you talked North Carolina, you heard overhaul, complete rebuild, bad locker room, or, need to have a change in culture. And I think both of those situations truly prove that coaching matters, environment matters, all of those sorts of things, because those two teams so far exceeded expectations. But if I were to go with a team that I think is poised with the returning components, it might be Pitt. I think Pitt could be the surprise team, because Pitt has the components you want for championship football. They are loaded up front. Even Jalen Twyman deciding to opt out, they're getting back 2 starters from the defensive front that missed off all last season that were starters the year before. So they're actually losing 1, gaining 2. And they're one of the most disruptive defenses, not only in the ACC, in all the country. They've got a veteran quarterback. They might be the team that kind of could sneak up on some people. So Pat Narduzzi's crew is one to probably keep an eye on.
Yeah, I like the swagger there at quarterback. All right, final question for you, Tom. I think this may be a year in which Clemson and their program, they're the benefit of this pandemic. You just mentioned things like change of culture in the locker room or dealing with play. To me, one of the signs of a great program is allowing the players to police the program themselves. And I think that level that Clemson has now reached pays off for them in 2020, in which the coaches can adjust to what's going on and let the players take care of the locker room.
There's no doubt about it. They know who they are, what they are, and their players know what's going to be tolerated and what isn't going to be tolerated. And it's one of the reasons why, if you look at that program under Dabo Swinney's leadership, they've had very, very little attrition. Mm-hmm. As a result, they've often had recruiting classes that had, 17, 18 kids in them instead of 25. Well, why is that? Well, you're not having to run off kids. You're not having to suspend kids. And the kids enjoy it so much there that they don't depart early for the NFL in many cases, and they return. So, you have this environment and this culture and this chemistry there that is extremely positive. And you're right. The coaches and the administration can manage the day to day, but those players it's setting a standard with young people. Once it happens, it can become very, very difficult to meet it every year, because young people are going to fall victim to everybody patting them on the shoulder and telling them how good they are and how great they've done and how good they're going to be. And many times they can't handle that, because now all of a sudden you get complacent or your focus starts to wane. You're not working as hard in the weight room because you think it's going to come easy. They've been able to avoid that, and you don't avoid that without player leadership. So I couldn't agree more with your assessment in that regard, where Clemson's at right now.
Tom, that's why nobody else will wear cowboy boots on the sideline at a college football game. You set the standard when it comes for that.
There you go. That's right. The bar for boots and buckles is here.
Hey, listen, thank you for joining us here on our first show of CSN Live. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you in person here soon.
You bet. Thanks for having me. Let's do it again soon.
And really appreciated catching up with Tom Luginbill from ESPN. But before we head back out, let's bring in Miss Cindy Isaac, being joined by former tight end of the Clemson Tigers, also NFLer Jim Riggs from Hot Springs Pool and Spas. And listen, Jim Riggs from Fort Knox, Kentucky, played right here at Clemson 1983 to 1986, a fourth-round draft pick, played with the Bengals and the Redskins, but most importantly, find him at hotspringspools.net and let him just deliver something next level for you.
Hey guys, I'm telling you, I've got the best job. Not only do I get cake, but I also get a Tiger Martini. Awesome. And this is meant to be sitting by the pool and enjoying it. If you get a chance to get out to Lakeside Lodge, believe me, when you get to the pool, it is spectacular. Yes, I am here with Jim Riggs, a former Clemson football player, plus a Clemson Hall of Famer. He is married to an old roommate of mine, Liz, who also graduated from Clemson in industrial engineering. And actually, Liz and I, when we roomed together, Liz was Miss Clemson.
Yes.
And in that same year, she turned around and crowned me.
You.
And
Yes.
here we had two Miss Clemsons in one apartment. So you know our heads were big.
Yes.
So anyway, we've got Jim here, and he is the creator and designer of the pool here at Lakeside Lodge. So Jim, how'd you get tied into this at Lakeside Lodge?
Well, unfortunately, I'm one of the owners of the project and have a apartment here, but I didn't get a Tiger Martini, so we're seeing where I'm ranked up here. So basically, the pool was a focal point that we wanted to bring out with the way it laid out. So our landscape architects that work for us did a magnificent job of setting it in here. And we build these type of facilities over a 5-state area from Virginia to Georgia. We've been doing it for 31 years. So when I was in the NFL, I started this business my second year in the NFL. And I've been very fortunate to be very successful in doing it. And we're one of the biggest swimming pool commercial builders in the Southeast. So Clemson obviously has been good with me, meeting my wife, meeting Cindy. It's just a big family. Jeff and Joe Ballstick. It's good to get back and see everybody. And I live in Greenville, and just a great opportunity for me to get involved back in Clemson. And I'm so excited about this project.
Yes, when you look at the pool, there are multiple levels and different areas of entertainment. So kind of lead us through some of that and the purposes of each.
Well, we basically have a sun deck. That's for the kids and the elderly people. or me. And then we have different waterfalls, deck jets. I think the big significant part of the whole thing is the pool bar, which I see is not open tonight. I'll make sure that's opened tomorrow. And but as you see, it's a free-form pool. A lot of complexity of it. There's a lot of things going on that, as the naive eye, you don't know what makes that thing work. But there's a lot of hydraulics involved in building that, and that's just an example of what we do, and we're very proud of what we do.
It is spectacular. Tell us, if you can, a few of the other projects that might be around the state that could be a focal point that people might recognize that you've done.
Well, we've done all the Cliffs communities, all their amenity centers, all the reserves amenity centers, high-profile residential pools of people you would know, coaches. I won't mention any names, but you kind of got an idea who I'm talking about. But there's a lot going on in this area, from Christian camps up on Highway 11, all the way to high-rises in downtown Greenville. I mean, things you would never notice, but when you're building pools on the 38th floor of a building, there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. So, Raleigh's our biggest market, Charleston, Charlotte. We run over 70 trucks out of our Greenville office, and we know what we're doing, and excited for what's going on. The COVID for us has been an absolute explosion. I mean, our business has just exploded since the COVID. God willing, let us do this, so it's been great.
Well, we sure do appreciate you coming out here, and if you get a chance, guys, you have got to go by the pool. It is fabulous and fantastic and really sets this place into the luxury that it is. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks for having me.
And again, thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Jim Briggs. You can find Hot Springs Pool and Spas online at hotspringspools.net. The phone number is 864-676-9400, or just stop by the showroom, 578 Woodruff Road, right there in Greenville, South Carolina. So, again, we're live here at CSN Live at Lakeside Lodge, and obviously, Joe, that pool area makes this the resort, Clemson's only resort it is, and we're just surrounded by greatness. But your brother's here, Jim Briggs is here, Coach Danny Pearman and his family were here, but it's now time to bring on, I think back to 1978. That might be the biggest football win in Clemson history in my lifetime, was a win at College Park, 28-24. That was the ACC championship. You guys fly back into Greenville, Spartanburg. I think there's 2,000 people in the bushes waiting on y'all to get off the airplane. The next big play might have been 4th and 16 in a Chick-fil-A bowl from one Taj Boyd to DeAndre Hopkins.
Yep. Yeah, we had, I'll never forget that 1978 game, and one of my teammates, Jerry Butler, one of the fastest guys on the team, a very high draft pick, he caught a pass over the middle and scored an 87-yard touchdown. And I was talking to Jerry a few months ago about this, and I'll never forget standing at the line of scrimmage, Steve Fuller, the ball goes over, Jerry catches, he takes off, the guy's got an angle on him. And the first thought, what do you think the first thought in my mind was? You're going to score a touchdown. No, the only thought that I had in my mind was, dude, the one that's chasing Jerry Butler, you're going to be in a different zip code by the time he gets to the goal line. And I'm telling you, he was 20 yards ahead of that guy when he scored the touchdown. But that was a huge win. Came back to Greenville Spartanburg Airport, and we're getting off the plane, and there's 10,000 people. There's people parked out on 85, and we're walking around going through the, everybody's cheering. I said, what are these people doing? He said, they're here for y'all. I said, for us? I said, man, this is unbelievable. But that just shows you the Clemson fan that is, that would ride over to Greenville Spartanburg Airport, 10,000 strong, to meet their ACC champions. But yeah, that 4th and 16, the LSU dudes were running their mouth in the stadium. And I said, come on back here whenever this game's over. We'll see who's winning and who's losing. And Taj Boyd made sure that I didn't have to see those dudes anymore. They didn't come back.
Taj and the crew left them throwing up in the trash can on the LSU sideline there in the fourth quarter. I was shooting the game and took a couple of photos of that and had it. And one was Sam Montgomery from Greenwood, South Carolina. But our good friends at Hall of Fame Sports Grill, 531 Wade Hampton Boulevard in Greenville. You can find them online at halloffamesportsgrill.com. they're our highlight sponsor, and this is a little highlight package that we put together for our good friend Taj Boyd before we bring him on to join us live.
Struggled mightily. 3rd and 2. This is Boyd, and he does it on his own and then turns it on. Taj Boyd, could he? Yes!
Energy. Georgia Tech's got a little. Taj Boyd to try to take it back. He's going to take another deep shot. He's got a man out there. It's Bryant! Martavis Bryant! Goodbye! Touchdown Tigers!
Boyd into the end zone. Touchdown, Hopkins. There's Boyd. Got a man on the post. Touchdown! What a catch!
You have to let the guard and give him time to pull.
That's what you're talking about there.
Boyd taking a shot, looking for Sammy Watkins. Touchdown, Clemson! Boyd taking a shot. And he's got Martavis Bryant, and he's got the
protection. With the 5 offensive linemen and the running back in McDowell, don't be surprised if LSU tries to free up a 6th man here.
4th and 16. Here comes the pressure on the blitz. Down the middle for Hopkins. He makes the catch to 40. Holy cow! What a catch by Hopkins in the clutch.
So now we welcome in our good friend Taj Boyd, the Clemson Tiger quarterback from 2010 to 2013, and of course part of the family here at Lakeside Lodge. And Taj, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. This is familiar territory,
We get you to come back on a Friday night after you've been here 5 days this week. I'm sure you're loving us right now.
Absolutely. And Mark, we go back, freshman, sophomore year, somewhere around that range?
Well, I think more important to me was the relationship we established right after you finished in the professional leagues, and pushing some buttons, telling you, hey, talk into that microphone. That's not the way you call a audible at the line of scrimmage.
Right. Yeah, you and Diesel, man.
That's right. That's right. But listen, let's talk about this 2020 version of the Clemson Tigers, and we'll start with offense because, Taj, in putting together this highlight package, I saw you had some talented wide receivers going from DeAndre Hopkins to Sammy Watkins to Martavis Bryant. Give us an idea of what it's like to drop back and have those kind of weapons, because that's pretty much identical to what Trevor Lawrence is going to deal with game in, game out this year.
For sure. And first off, I got to compliment Joe on this mustache right here. It looks fantastic, man. It does. It looks good, I don't know what wifey's saying about it, but I dig it, So
I grew 2 of them in my life. I grew a brown one 30 years ago, and I grew a white one now.
Oh, man. All right. But, one of the things, especially when you have an array of talent, a wealth of talent around you, it's tough because there's only one football, And so the best thing that I had was a bunch of selfless individuals surrounded, by me. Same thing with Trevor right now, his guys. You got a plethora of players, and, everybody wants to shine and everybody wants to touch the ball. But at the end of the day, the common goal is to win the game. And I think we got that culture established pretty early. And so for that, I was thankful. But, man, each player was special in his own right. So as a quarterback, the best part about being that was that I had to figure out what it was about them individually that made them tick. What does this guy do well? What does he do bad? If I'm in this down and distance, where do I need to put my focus at? And so, it's tough sometimes, man, because, I look at the stat sheet, and at the end of the game, Sammy has – 15 catches for 250 yards and 2 touchdowns, and, we won, and it's supposed to feel good. But meanwhile, I got Sharon Peake, and I got Adam Humphries, and I got Jerron Brown, and they went the whole game without a catch, and so, me empathizing a little bit, I'm walking over to him after the game, and I'm telling him sorry, and so it was one of those deals that you had to work out mentally, emotionally, and just try to get back to work as consistent as you possibly can. And so to see the way that we handle it, to see the way that Trevor handles it, and the rest of these quarterbacks going forward, because this isn't slowing down. This is a well-oiled machine right now, man. It's a consistent program. I think at this point they've, got to the point where they can take anything out of the market whenever they want to, especially in this southeastern corridor. But when you can reach out to Canada, you can reach out to California, you're reaching new territory, and it's unprecedented. And I don't see it slowing down anytime soon.
So I want both you and Joe Bostic's opinion. Who is the best player on this Clemson offense in 2020? And you're limited to one choice.
This offense?
On this year's offense.
It'll be Trevor.
Okay.
And it's because, and everybody thinks that that's the answer, but I don't think for me it always was that, right? I thought that Trevor, the last few years, was a contributing guy, right? He did his job. He had, his wide receivers. He had his running backs doing his thing. He had his guys up front leading the charge. But now when you walk into this team, it's completely different, right? You got 2 starters returning on the O-line. You got, an injured receiver room with some new guys having to step up and take control of that. But you still have your stable core at running back. And so now this is Trevor's team completely. I mean, they're in the predicament where they live and die with him. And I think that he's well prepared for that right now, especially with how he's handled this offseason. And so I'm excited for him because, he's the driving force.
Now, most people, the other obvious answer, Joe, would be Travis Etienne.
Yeah.
You're talking about a guy that comes back into this year with 62 touchdowns in his career. Think about the legendary Steve Fuller back when you played with him. 44 touchdowns in his career, 22 passing, 22 rushing. Here we got 62 headed into the senior year. But to me, to make Joe feel good in this conversation, Jackson Carman is a big part of this offense and has to mean a lot for Trevor knowing he's got first-round talent sitting there out at left tackle.
Oh yeah, Jackson Carman's going to play a long time. He's one of those guys who's got a big frame, big bottom, just a sturdy guy, and he's going to be a hard guy to when you go bull rush somebody and you got a bull rusher coming in there. Sometimes you get little skinnier guys and they're still 300 pounds. They bench press a lot, but they don't have big hips and big legs. And, you need that to stop a guy and then be able to dance with him a little bit. And then I think, the other guy I love on that offensive line is Matt Boxhorst. That guy is one of those guys, kind of reminds me of Jeff a little bit. He's one of those guys that's like a little scrappy-do guy. He's not taking any junk off anybody. He's going to slap somebody upside the face. He's going to make 4 other guys better players. And you need a guy like that on your offensive line that's going to be mouthy a little bit and talk to his own guys. And, and when some guys, kind of a little bit of a star type offensive lineman kind of gets, a little down and out, this guy can pep him up and get him moving a little bit. So, I agree. I think Travis is a great player. And the problem you have picking one guy out, those 2 guys very well may be in New York at the end of the season in the top 5 for the Heisman Trophy voting.
Yeah.
That's how good both of those guys are. So when you're picking one or the other, obviously to me it's more important to have a quarterback just like with you, because you're going to touch the ball every play.
Yeah.
And but we got 2 guys that are really, really big time superstars.
One of the things I find similar between your era at Clemson and Joe's era is stability in the coaching staff.
Right.
There was not a lot of transition. And granted, people didn't get into coaching as much when Joe was in college because of the financial payoff as they do now. But, Clemson has a little bit of adjustment this year, losing Jeff Scott to the University of South Florida. But to me, one of the telltale signs is the amount of consistency that people want to be here with Dabo Swinney and this staff.
Yeah, I think that the sustainability that's been had throughout this program is special. And I think it tells an amazing story on who Coach Swinney is. To be honest, the grass probably isn't greener on the other side. You're looking at a program right now who's in the driver's seat for the foreseeable future. And you're looking at a coaching staff that really knows each other, a family base that really knows each other, the wives, the kids, everybody's in conjunction with each other. So from that standpoint, I think that's why it's attractive for a lot of these recruits coming in. At least when they walk in the door, the same guy that's over here pitching them about coming here is going to be there on their exit too. And I think you missed that at a lot of other places because most places get looked at as a stepping stone. Right now Clemson isn't a stepping stone. They are it. They're the centerpiece of college football altogether.
Justin Ross ends up here simply because, being from Phoenix City, Alabama.
Right.
Alabama had been through 3 wide receiver coaches in about a 4-year period. And he's like, I don't know if this guy recruiting me is going to be here to coach me. And I think that's a big key. So, I want to focus and switch gears a little bit to the ACC itself because I firmly believe right now we're having football beginning 2 weeks from now in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, September 12th against Wake Forest.
For sure. Yeah, and you want to chime in on that? Because I think the ACC is going to be explosive this year. It's a lot of good football teams, a lot of good players. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Herndon Hooker over there at Virginia Tech. He's actually my next favorite quarterback in the conference outside of Trevor, right? But you got Derek King over there, new transfer from Houston going to Miami. You got Sam Howell at UNC, and what they're building right now is, something to be sought after. You got, NC State and Devin Leary over there, and I think he's a young player who has a lot of potential. So there's some good football being played right now, man. I think it's wide open outside of that number one spot.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that the ACC is coming up. We've got top-notch coaches. Mike Brown's won a national championship. Dabo Swinney's won a national championship. There's a lot of really good coaches in this league, and there's good players. And I think the future looks bright.
I think that's key. I mean, let's be honest. We all have a cousin Eddie in our family. You know what I mean? But when it comes to being Southern football fans right now, we're all kind of family. Right. We want to play football. We know what it means to these small college towns, like Lakeside Lodge here at Clemson, Taj. Sure. But to me, the leadership and trying to get this done, and then the fact that, the meeting that Coach had with his players last week, we got you this far. Now let's go play some football and be successful. 673 tests this other day, 0 positives. So it shows it can be done. Now let's just go out there and get a little sense of normalcy back.
What that shows is that there's leadership on that football team. Taj has been in it. I've been in it. There were guys that were leaders on teams, and they're the kind of guys. If you go out, start partying downtown, acting like a fool, I mean, somebody's gonna grab you by the back of the shirt,
right? And
they're gonna yank you up and say, "Hey, either you get straight, or you're out of here, because we're not. This is my senior year, and you're not gonna screw it up for me." So that's what it takes. It takes leadership to tell these guys, "Hey, we're gonna put off all the drinking and the carrying on and going out and whatever we do for 3 months or so. After January, you go out and drink all day long if you want to, and hang out at the bar as much as you want to. But this is important." And we've got to, you got to make it your daily mission to stay healthy. This team's got to be hungry, and it's got to be humble. I mean, whatever the team did last year and the year before last and been in the playoffs for 5 times, those are different teams.
Yeah.
Those are different players. This team has got to have its own identity, its own leadership, and those kids have got to take care of each other and police each other, because that's the way it's going to work. And I think those 0 positive tests are indicative there's leadership there, not only from the coaching staff, but the players.
You can give us an example. We're fans. Fan is short for fanatic. We want some normalcy. But, my daughter, who you're good friends with, Taj, and sent her a good message at Coker University the other day, one of Leslie Brooks' good friends at Coker is a freshman volleyball player, and she has seen her year get canceled. And she's a student athlete, just like these other these are defining moments. These are things that people have worked on for 6 or 7 years. Yeah. And if they lose it, they lose that structure. So I think it's important for these guys to be in this structured environment instead of all over the place.
Well, I mean, I think that's why you saw so many players say, hey, we need football, because it's more than just the game itself. I mean, we're talking about, again, an identity, a structure, a team, a setting where most of these guys have been comfortable in their whole life. I mean, I started playing football when I was 7 years old. And so understanding what that meant for me, I spent more time with my guys than I did my family, with the coaches, or anybody else. And so that was family. And so you separate that, man, and these kids don't really know who they are without that. And, I thought that it was awesome to see how vocal the players have been this year. 2020 is an unusual time. It's an unprecedented time. This is going to be something that's in the history books. But one of the things that's been positive about all of this is the creativity that we've seen displayed in front of us, the silver lining that exists in all of it, And so, even in Lakeside, I mean, look, we had a lull here for a little while, right? But it's finding ways to create touches. These guys, when they play, they're going to find ways to create. They had a month or two where, nobody knew what they were doing. I thought that they were sitting out there eating whatever, not taking care of themselves. And then these guys roll back in, and they look just as good as they would have been here. So that shows me that this is a mature football team. And I think that these guys, man, like they're more independent, they're more mature, they're more savvy than what people give them credit for sometimes. These are a mature young bunch of athletes, because the experiences that they have at 18, 19 could rival that of a person that's 40, 50. So I'm excited to see, the leadership within this team continue to prevail. And man, we've seen a lot of goodness coming out of this right here. So
Yeah, I'm in 100% agreement. And Joe, I mean, what's it like? Everybody knows in this country who Trevor Lawrence is. If you're a college football player, he's 29-1, lost his 30th game in his second consecutive national championship game. But now one of the most powerful voices in college football has been a backup here at Clemson University by the name of Darian Rencher. And his impact may be as long-lasting as anything that Trevor Lawrence does on a football field.
For sure.
Yeah, Darian Richard. I've never met the kid until we went to the march down, in front of Tillman Hall, or the old Tillman Hall, and boy, what an impressive young man. I can assure you that young man's going to do some neat stuff in life, and he's going to make Clemson University very proud. I totally impressed with how he handled himself and the words that he chose to use, and and I get to see some of the kids, and Taj probably sees more of them than I do, but the kids that we are recruiting here are really nice kids.
Yeah.
They might not be nice from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock on Saturdays, but I'll tell you what, off the field, there are some very, very nice kids. Yes, sir. How you doing, sir? Good to see you, sir. Like, I'm not a sir. I mean, it's just, they're just very polite.
I'm just Joe Bostic. And speaking of, where do you like to go work out? Because we're getting ready to be joined by Rob Harold of
Gold's Gym.
Cindy Isaacs is
I'm in there every day
with Rob Harold, and I understand we get a lot of Clemson sports news business discussed between Gary McDaniel and Joe Bostic at Gold's Gym. But here's Cindy with Rob Harold.
All right, guys. Yes, I think one of my favorite pastimes is either lifting weights or working out. And, of course, when I came to Clemson, the first thing that I did was look up Gold's Gym right here in Clemson. And here I have Rob Harold, who is part owner of that gym. So, Rob, tell us a little bit about your membership and what's going on with your gym.
Well, as the gentleman before me, COVID has actually done us tremendously well right now. We were shut down for about 49 days earlier in the year, but during that time, we took the time to remodel the gym, repainted the entire facility. Almost this entire staff works out in the gym every day, so I'm fortunate to get to see y'all all the time. We've got all new equipment, and unfortunately FICA is down right now, so we have a tremendous amount of students coming through. I know Jervy's only allowing a select few 25 people at a time, so we've got some of the baseball team, the cheerleaders, the track athletes. It's been really good for us, and we're just trying to get everybody safe, clean, working out, and healthy.
Tell us a little bit about the fees as far as a membership goes for students and just adults.
So we have several different ways that you can join, but all of our memberships average about $29.99 a month. And that's 24 hours access, 7 days a week. That includes classes, childcare. We also do virtual reality classes, and we also have personal training as well.
Yes, you do. And let me ask you, I know that COVID is a little bit of a scare, especially when we're in that kind of atmosphere, but I have seen you walking around with a backpack and spraying things. So give us a little bit of what you're doing as far as keeping it safe so that people will feel more comfortable coming in.
Well, right now we do have the backpack, the ionizer, that's supposed to kill everything. And we also have 2 new cleaning crews that cleans all the time. We are doing every other piece of cardio and just asking people to social distance 6 feet as much as possible when they're in the club.
All right, awesome, guys. So Gold's Gym is a proud sponsor of Clemson Sports News. If you want to be a sponsor, there are spots open. So all you have to do is email clemsonsportsnews@gmail.com. Tell them Cindy sent you. Bye.
All right, thank you, Cindy Isaacs. And again, Joe, it's a fun group. We'll learn our way through this. And, of course, one of the great parts is having a group like Lakeside Lodge be the primary sponsor of CSN Live, and we'll give Taj an opportunity to check on that or tell about that before we close out. But you can't really talk about ACC football in 2020 unless you think about a surprise team. And think last year that was probably North Carolina, if not Louisville. And I still maintain the dysfunction of coming off 2-10 up there in Louisville and getting to 8-5 in a bowl game. That was big. Do you see anybody out there this year, because I do, that you think may have a quicker turnaround than a lot of people expect? Whoop. Yeah. Well, there we go. We had to swap one plug
we're
out.
back. All right, so I actually called UNC. I got to go pull up my receipts, man, because this was like 3 months before kickoff, and I'm like, UNC's the team, but we're going to say Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has, I don't know, 17 starters coming back. Maybe it's a little bit more. Experienced quarterback, got some weapons outside. Nobody put them in the top 25, and I think they're deserving of that. So now this gives them a chip on their shoulder because that's what you get. I mean, look, any football team, you want to be challenged to a degree. You want people to not believe in you so that you can create that in that locker room and in that environment. And I think that's what they're going to get, man. This is the jolt for them to get them to go and propel forward. So Pittsburgh, the Panthers, coming in hot, finishing at number 17 at the end of the year.
And I like Coach Narduzzi. He's just he's a really nice guy on top of it. But Joe, anybody that you're looking at?
My two teams are Virginia Tech and Pittsburgh. I agree with Taj on Pittsburgh. Pat Narduzzi's is a defensive coach. He's a lot like Dabo in the sense that he's looking for every little slight or whatever. Dabo can pick out more slights than anybody I've ever seen, but Virginia Tech has 17 starters coming back, and Pittsburgh will be a tough team. There's a tough-minded bunch there, and so I look at Virginia Tech and Pittsburgh. The only thing maybe about Virginia Tech is the loss of Bud Foster as a defensive coordinator. That may have a little bit to do with how they come around defensively, but those are my two teams.
I'm going to go. It's kind of hard to believe that I'm going to put this team in that category, but to me, it's Florida State. You're talking about a team that comes back with 10 of 11 starters on defense. Hold on. It was a train wreck last year before Odell Haggins took it over and got things to the finish line, if you will. And then Mike Norvell, I really like him, and for whatever reason, Memphis does not want to lose another coach to an ACC school here in the next decade. But again, Florida State, that's a fertile recruiting territory. If they can learn to block anybody this year, there might be a chance. I'm not talking about going 9-1, but 7-3 and people not reading paperbacks in the end zone at the end of a blowout.
Yeah, I mean, I think Florida State's upside is tremendous, But we need Mike Norvell with the braids from Memphis. Yes. We need that Mike Norvell. And I don't know, man. And Florida State should never be where it's at. I should never be able to make that face at the program. But I mean, that's what they've been, Mm-hmm. And so from within that, man, 2 or 3 years, absolutely. This year, I mean, they're a 5-5 football team best,
Well, sometimes you got to shoot outside the box because y'all had taken my Pittsburgh answer, and I wasn't going to agree with you and Tom Luginbill, who did the same thing earlier. All right, we also can't go this route into a ACC season with, even under the pandemic, even under COVID, there's a lot of money in college sports. Is there a coach on the hot seat, or are all of these coaches kind of safe this year just due to the financial situation of these universities?
You're talking about in college football in general?
In the ACC. Because
to me, this year was a pass.
Yeah.
I mean, look, there were, I would say, 20% of college football coaches that probably would have been out if the pandemic didn't hit. But this gave them an opportunity to get CPR, resuscitated, brought back to life. And so they should be thankful for the COVID. Unfortunately, it's a serious deal, but it did give a lot of these coaches the opportunity to get another year at it. So they get an extra year of recruiting, they get an extra year of backing. Wouldn't look right for an organization, the trustees, to pull a plug with a half-done season and a half-done recruiting class. So it's an extended period, and at the very least, they get a chance to put some more money in their pockets.
I like who Joe said earlier when we talked about this. I think it's the only coach in the ACC, in my opinion, that has any chance of having any pressure put on him.
Yeah, I think Dave Doran at North Carolina State's he's got some real challenges.
Yeah.
Went up to the game last year with Clemson played, and I can't even remember it was like 55-10 or something, and it's just. When I was playing, NC State had some very good teams. They were always, Maryland, us, and NC State were the teams that were vying for the ACC championships. And, it's just just not a good situation there right now.
Yeah.
And we had so many competitive years, 3 or 4 years ago with NC State, but now it's gotten to a blowout point now.
Yeah, that makes sense too. Because, NC State, notoriously, you go down to Raleigh, and you think it's a tough place to play, or at least it used to be.
Yes.
And then when I started watching their film, breaking down their quarterback, I'm like, this team actually has players. They got talent. I just don't know if they quite believe, and that's up to the coaches to provide that. So, yeah, I think you guys could be right on that one.
I just think it comes down to North Carolina had a quick resurgence with Mac Brown. Listen, one of the bastions of stability in the last few years has been Dave Clawson at Wake Forest, and then you add Chase Bryce being the new quarterback at Duke under David Cutcliffe. NC State fans are not going to be happy if they're the fourth best team on Tobacco Road in the ACC.
I mean, Wake Forest can't catch a break, you know.
Jamie
Newman transfers out,
in this.
you know. Surratt, opts out. Another player opts out. I'm like, man, and Dave, he actually recruited me. I was committed to him while he was the OC at Tennessee. And so very familiar with him. Very intelligent guy. I mean, from a playbook standpoint, from an analysis, he's as intellectual as it gets, Personality lacks just a little bit, but it fits Wake Forest, you feel me? So, I went on my visit, and we walked through campus, I don't know, like 4 minutes. And they was like, hey, if you come here, you're going to get a laptop. And I'm like, well, don't you get a laptop everywhere? So it's kind of one of those deals. But a good program. I see a lot of good for Wake Forest coming in the future.
Between Dave Clawson and Dave Dorn, you might be able to scratch one bit of personality together. So I'm sorry, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I'm glad your Tennessee story didn't come to fruition. That's all I can say.
We will get into a Stanley Morgan conversation from 1975 at some point on this show. But Taj, real quickly, everybody knows we're here at Lakeside Lodge. Yeah. This is the next phase of your career, and what a beautiful situation to be surrounded by someone like a Leighton Cubbage and, the Bostic brothers, Jim Riggs, and kind of learn the business from some people that are very, very successful in a really neat environment.
Yeah, man, I'm surrounded by some giants, been in business for a long time. And, one of the things I learned from them, I've always been understanding of people, but then you start to realize how much people matter once you continue to proceed outside of the football realm. And so understanding these guys, the trials, the setbacks, the things that they had to do to overcome and win is very much like football in a way. It's like life in general, right? And so I think Lakeside in its totality is an embodiment of Clemson and what it is. We rally. Nobody anticipated, this pandemic to hit, and this was right when we were opening, so we're coming in and we're understaffed and everybody's wearing every hat, and Cubs doing what he does, and Shane and Slevin, and sometimes I'm taking out the trash, I'm putting soap in dispensers, like whatever it takes, and so to see this place come to life, man, see it born in front of you, molded, it's just been a beautiful deal. So to see the feedback that we've been getting, man, and the people enjoyment and seeing their faces when they're by the pool or grabbing something to eat or just standing in the rooms and getting that is appreciative, but it's not without any pitfalls either. Not everybody's had the best experience, right? And so within that, what are you going to do? You're going to fix it, right? And so, man, we've been so thankful for everybody that's come here to really help us continue to get the ball rolling, because to a degree, it's been a soft opening. For the people who haven't been here yet, I think it's going to blow their mind when they do, man. So special place surrounded by special people. The whole project is Clemson through and through, from the developers to the capital raise team to the janitorial staff. Like, we're creating a culture here that I think is going to exist for a very long time.
We're very proud to be part of it. And again, every night, Friday night before a football game, home or away, we're going to be doing this, and we'll get bigger and better at what we do as well. And Joe, I think you will have to agree with me. Thank your lovely wife, Jamie, for allowing us to do this. I need to thank my lovely wife, Teresa, because quite frankly, they keep us motivated.
Oh, she winds me up every day, sends me out the door, and says, go do your thing, boy.
But, a lot of people out here, again, lost the feed a minute ago due to internet, but we are going to do this. You got to break what is the old say? You got to break a plate to fix it. But
never heard that in my life.
These are the problems from somebody that had a stroke 13 months ago.
I think you just invented that one.
I think so, too, yeah.
It's off the cuff.
I got one more thing to say.
Sometimes in my head, it doesn't come out the way it sounds.
Yeah, where is Mama Boyd? I'll tell you what, you've done one heck of a job raising one young man over here. I'll tell you, he is a real pleasure. And I'm telling you what, he's like that 100% of the time when I'm around him. He's always top notch, honest, good, solid, does what he says he'll do, and speaks very well. I'm just very impressed.
Well, he is definitely the MVP of tonight's show. So, Taj, we've threatened to give you this for a long, long time.
Man, look, he over here looking like Willie Beeman instead of Taj Boyd, but he looks good.
But hey, it's always the thought that counts. But again, we'll be back 2 weeks for Taj.
his head
Cut
fell
his
off.
head off. All right. Nothing like live TV. Listen, we'll be back 2 weeks
That was
from
that LSU
tonight.
game.
Yeah, for sure.
That was Sam Montgomery going up in the trash can.
Give it some stem and ice, it'd be all right. Tape it up.
We need some glue.
But again, Joe, thank you for teaching me a lot here in the short 6 weeks that we have been kind of putting this together. And thanks to Leighton and most importantly, our good buddy Gary McDaniel and all the staff and the interns, because this was Gary's vision. And we were lucky to pull it off tonight. But he had approached us months ago about this. And you know what? We got it done.
We're going to get better. We're going to keep fighting the good fight.
That's right. Well, again, thank you guys for coming out and enjoy it. And we'll be here every home Friday before a football game for CSN Live at Lakeside Lodge.